So let me introduce myself. Most of you know me this week as the one running around like crazy doing everything. So that's my job this week, the assistant director of the Institute, but my real job is I'm the audiologist here at ISD. So that's what I do every other week of the year, okay? So they've asked me today to talk to you about FM/DM systems. Okay, who is familiar with those? I know there are a couple. Okay, so probably if your kid is school-aged, are probably the ones that have heard about it the most, okay? But it's something I want you to all know a little bit about before you hit that mark of school, okay? So, what is an assistive listening device? It is something that brings sound to your child's ears, okay? So what it's going to do, it has two parts. Most ALDs used by children are FM systems or sound field systems, okay? You'll hear them as FM or DM. FM is kind of the old term, frequency modulation, and now we're digital modulation. So now most of them are DM systems, okay? So you'll hear a lot of the schools are still using FM because that's the word everybody knows. So FM systems, DM systems, same thing, just a little bit different technology. How do they help? So the big thing that they do is they help to reduce background noises. Okay, I don't know if you've been in a classroom recently, they are noisy places. They're not quiet. Even here where most people go, oh, the deaf school must be super quiet there. Whew, far from it. Okay, there's lots of sounds going on. There's kids making sounds, there's chairs scooting, there's papers, there's air conditioners, there's lights, there's projector screens. There is sounds everywhere. Okay. They also help to make things, sound seems closer to your child. So if their kid is sitting in the back and your teacher is at the front of the room, whew, that's a big distance. Okay. So it helps to bring the teacher's voice right to the ear, no matter where they are. Okay. So the teacher's sitting up here, the child's sitting back there, that teacher's voice is right here in their ears. Yes.
Is this something in addition to the hearing aids?
That is correct. So this is an additional device either added to the hearing aids or something that's standalone by itself. Okay, so yes, it is in addition to, you can, some of you may have some hearing aids that have integrated FM systems into it, so it's attached to the hearing aid and just stays on there pretty much full time, but it's still in addition to a regular hearing aid. All right, and they also help in large rooms, a lot of reverberation when you're in a big room, sounds bouncing off all kinds of places, so it makes it the listening situation even a little bit harder. So this is going to help with that as well. Again, bringing that voice right to their ears. Nope. Okay, so this is kind of a nice little drawing. It kind of tells you, so we have let me find my little pointer here. So we have the teacher up here in the front of the classroom. That teacher's voice is way up here. They usually, most teachers are not just talking at a normal level, right? They have to amplify those voices to get those voices across that classroom, right? So as you will see, and then we have, we have the pink right here, which is the level of background noise in a classroom. It's loud. Okay, so now we're going to watch and see what the teacher's voice does as it travels to the back of that classroom. Look how much louder that noise is than that teacher's voice by the time you get to the back row of that classroom. It is hard to hear. Even when you don't have any issues with your hearing, that is hard. It's a hard situation, okay? So if you add on that a hearing loss and the technology, it's a rough situation, okay? Any questions about that diagram? It's kind of important. We good? Okay, so what are the parts? How does it work? So we got the teacher wearing a microphone. Similar, so they're just going to be mic'd all day. They got something probably hanging in their pocket or hanging around their neck. So it's very simple. The teacher usually doesn't have to do anything other than charge it overnight, turn it on in the morning. Not much to do. Okay, so very simple. So that's going to take that's what's picking up the teacher's voice. Different kinds of transmitters, call them transmitters, microphones, all the same thing, okay? I got a picture, there's some pictures of one right here. Oops, got a little feedback. Here's a common one that you'll see often. It's a touch screen. It runs much like your cell phone. You just touch the screen and tell it to do the different things you want it to do. But really all you're gonna do is you're gonna put it on in the morning and there it's gonna stay. Okay, this particular one has 3 different microphones on it, which is nice because if you're wearing it this way, it's going to direct the microphones to the person's voice. If I lay it down on the table, it becomes like a small group device. So it's going to pick up everybody's voice around me. If it's like this, it's really just picking up mine for the most part. It'll get a little bit of the front row, but not much. Okay, so it's got different settings depending on how it's sitting. Okay. But they're all different. They have there's different companies. There's different styles. Like that one in the middle, it looks like a pin, like an ink pen type thing. That's great for some of our older kids that want to be a little more discreet about their microphone. So not everybody in the class knows what they have. So it just kind of looks like an ink pen. The receivers, now that's the part that your child would wear, okay? And again, different kinds of receivers, whether it's an implant, a hearing aid. They can use all kinds of different receivers. This one, bear with me, let's go back by feedback. So here's a common one. It's a universal one. So it doesn't matter. It's used mostly for hearing aids. So depending on what kind of hearing aid your child is wearing, they buy a different adapter to fit that hearing aid. But this is universal. Okay? So there's a different adapter per different hearing aid, but one receiver. Schools like to buy that because when your kid's done with it, another kid can use it. They just have to buy the little piece that attaches, and that's usually not very expensive at all. Anybody seen these before? Would you like me to pass it around? Okay, I will do that. It's real tiny. Okay, so that's a picture of this basically right here, okay? Some of you will have this attached to the bottom of their hearing aid. That's an integrated FM receiver. So that's gonna stay on there. Schools typically will not buy that because that means it's going home. And they get a little bit concerned about the money and that we're sending this home every day and hoping it comes back, okay? That's why often they'll buy these because that just comes off at the end of the day. You just pull it off the bottom of the hearing aid and that stays at school. Then you have different ones for cochlear implants that are usually attached somewhere onto the implant. And again, those come off at the end of the school day. And then you have these. You've probably seen these this week. I have them sitting over on this table. Those are multi-purpose for me. I can use them with kids with cochlear implants. Any device that has a teleloop system, heard of teleloop? Telecoil? Okay, so if you switch the hearing aid or the cochlear implant to the telecoil option and you wear this necklace, the like lanyard part of the necklace is actually a teleloop system. So it's picking up the sound and transmitting it to the hearing aids through the T-coil, okay? So the teacher again would have the microphone and their hearing aids are picking up that signal, much like a telephone, how we do it with telephones, okay? So that's one way, and the nice thing of that is they can wear it under their shirt. So some of the kids like that because, nobody really sees it, but yet it's still operating correctly. Okay. In this case, we can also hook headphones to it. We use it for translation a lot around here. So they just plug the headphones into the bottom and the person talks and then they hear their voice. So it's kind of multi-purpose. Any questions about receivers? Yes?
Is there such a thing as like a Bluetooth?
Is there a Bluetooth receiver? Okay, so when you're talking Bluetooth is much different than FM/DM systems. Okay, so there are some Bluetooth, they're called streamers. Have you heard of that? Anybody talk to you about streamers when you got your amplification devices? So those are Bluetooth to FM. Okay, so any of your Bluetooth devices come into this box and then it transmits FM signals to the devices. But there are like FM, there's FM or Bluetooth in some of your cochlear implants in your hearing aids, so then they can go directly to. But those are a lot of home uses. The Bluetooth stuff, FM and DM is usually school related. Make sense?
Would you need one or both if you have like both implants or both hearing aids? Would you need just
So would you need just one or do you need two of these devices, one for each ear? Usually I'm two. However many devices you have, that's how many FMs you really should have. Otherwise, it's a little off balance. They're hearing this way out of this ear, and they're hearing this way out of this ear. So best if they're wearing two devices, two FMs. Again, with the one over here, one device covers both. It's not the best signal. This one is good, but it's not as good of a signal as if you were booting directly into the amplification devices. That's got a better signal, more consistent signal than that does, but this works when that's what you have. Yes?
Are they programmable? Like, it has to be programmed to their hearing loss? Like,
No. No.
Like severe in the other.
Right. So does it have to be programmed differently based on each kid and their hearing loss? No, it does not. So it's going into the device, and then the device is doing what it's programmed to do. So it's just taking in the information, and then the amplification is doing all the rest. So yeah, so it's just plug and play. We're ready to go. Anybody else have any questions? Good questions. Okay. Where can you use an FMDM system? You can do them at home. So who with their cochlear implants got a mini mic? Yes. Nobody else got mini mics? Wow. I thought you got one of those. Okay, lots of people usually get the mini mics with their implants. That's good for home use. Those are great for home use. I am not a huge supporter of them in the school system because it's not a great signal. It's not amazing technology. It's not like the stuff that we purchase for school use. Great for home. So in the car, when you're trying to talk to your children in the back seat, and you're talking to the window, which is then bouncing stuff back to them, so it's not a great signal. So they probably struggle a little bit when you're in the car trying to understand what you're saying. So that's perfect use for those mini mics, home systems. A little bit, you can get them a lot cheaper than you're going to buy one of these systems. Okay, but you just have to remember the signal's not the same. It's not as good of a signal, it's not as clear, and sometimes it can drop out. And so also, if you try to use those in school, the problem is if your kid's not a good reporter, like, I don't hear you anymore. If they don't tell somebody, you don't know that it's not working very well. All right. At school, we use these all the time. It's so that, no matter where the kid is in the room, no matter where the teacher is in the room, it's always like the teacher's right here. So if they're at centers, they're hearing the teacher. If they don't want to sit in the front row all the time, maybe they want to sit towards the middle. Okay, that's going to help with that distance. Okay? All right? Outside of home. Like when you're shopping, wouldn't it be nice if, you could say, get back here, when they're too far to hear you, and they can hear you. Okay? So that's super nice. Or, watch out for that car, if they're ahead of you or something like that. So it's very beneficial. So if you have the opportunity with your devices to get those mini mics, it's not a bad idea. It's not a bad idea to look into those. Okay, I want to say they're like, probably pushing like 200-ish, but in the world of this stuff, that's not too bad. Yes?
You said with implants, they also have mini mics for hearing aids, correct?
So do they have mini mics for hearing aids and implants? Yes, you should be able to get, and it may not be a mini mic, it's just called a remote microphone. Okay. Yeah, so a remote microphone is something that you really, if you can purchase or get with your hearing aids or cochlear implants, not a bad idea. Okay, especially when you're out and about. It's a good safety thing if they're just a little bit too far to hear you. Okay. Also, one thing that we often do with them too is we have the kid wear the microphone themselves. And it's a good way for them to hear themselves. So when you're working on some speech sounds, that kind of thing, they can wear that and they hear themselves much better and can work on those different sounds. If they're working on raising the level of their voice, if they're talking too quietly, and we want them to get a little bit louder, now they can hear themselves a little bit better. Okay, so we have another. So what we've talked about is what we consider personal devices, okay? So they're usually connected to their own devices. Now this sound field systems is a whole nother thing that's not connected to their amplification, but just it benefits them in the room, okay? I have an example right there. You can see the pictures, but that's a sound field system, okay? So that's set up in a classroom. Teacher wears a microphone. It's just kind of like a PA system, okay? So the teacher's voice is gonna come out of that system. It's a nice clear signal. It doesn't have all that staticky background stuff that we're kind of used to with PA systems, right? So that is some good technology with with sound that comes out of there, and it's very clear. The nice thing about these, which I think is my next slide. Yeah, same thing. So they wear the microphone and it disperses it to the entire room. The benefit is it can help all the children in the room, okay? So when you're talking about these little ones, 3, 4 years old, lots of ear infections going on, right? In those preschool classrooms, lots of ear infections with all the students. So anytime you can make that teacher's voice a little bit louder for everybody, the school thinks, oh, that's not a bad idea. It's not just, I didn't have to buy this for one. This is gonna benefit the entire classroom, okay? So especially benefit for those that are hard of hearing or mild to moderate losses. So if we're talking about a kid with a profound loss with hearing aids, it's probably not enough amplification for them. You'd want to look more towards the personal device for them. Okay, we need to get that extra boost right to them. But if we're looking at mild losses, and especially if we have a mild loss that's not aided, and that sometimes happens out there, that's at least going to give them an extra boost in the classroom to hear that teacher. Okay. Cochlear implants are also very beneficial for kids with cochlear implants. And again, sometimes the schools are more apt to buy things when they realize it helps more than one. And again, it's a universal thing. So when your kid leaves that classroom, well, it's probably going to benefit the next classroom as well. Any questions on that kind of device? They also have ones that go in the ceilings, so the sound comes down. So there's a variety of systems out there. Yeah.
Can you use both?
Can you use both? Can you use a personal and a sound field?
I work at a school, so what if
Sure.
my classroom has that, then I have someone who comes in with that video system.
Okay, so he works in a school. So what if he has one of those in his classroom and a kid comes in and has a personal device as well? Yes, you can use both at the same time. And depending, as long as both systems are the same company, you should only have to wear one microphone to cover both most of the time.
Okay, I was gonna say,
Yeah, most of the time.
Have to wear two mics.
Correct, yeah. So if they're using different companies, that kind of thing, chances are that teacher may have to wear two microphones. And then they think that's, the end of the world. But yes. A sound field system, yeah. Yeah, that's the generic term for those kinds of devices, yeah. All right, any other questions about that? I'm sure as you've been in some of those rooms for group counseling, have you seen these? Or not group counseling, for your individual appointments with the professionals. We, here at this school, I have lots of these in pretty much every single classroom. So we like them a lot. As we're gonna listen to, okay, so I'm gonna, disclaimer here, this video is old that we're gonna listen to. It's not the greatest sound quality, but you will get the point of the benefit of the system, okay? So bear with the old recording, okay? And then we'll talk about it.
Hello, this is a hearing aid and FM simulation. We would like to show you what it sounds like to listen through a hearing aid, in quiet and in noise, and then to listen through a personal FM system. This is what speech sounds like when it is recorded through the microphone of the hearing aid. I am now at the optimal listening condition of about 3 feet away from the microphone of the hearing aid, and there is no noise in the background. For the hard of hearing student in the regular classroom, this ideal listening condition rarely exists. The first condition we would like to demonstrate shows what happens when the teacher walks further than 3 feet away from the hearing aid. I'm going to walk approximately 10 feet away, and as I do, you will notice that the loudness and the intelligibility of my speech decreases. Mary had a little lamb. Her fleece was white as snow, and everywhere that Mary went, her lamb was sure to go. And here, at 10 feet away from the hearing aid, you should notice that you have a very difficult listening situation for the hard of hearing student in the regular classroom. As I walk back towards the hearing aid now, you'll notice that there's an increase in the loudness and the intelligibility of my speech until I am once again back at the optimal listening condition of about 3 feet, and you should hear everything with little difficulty. What we would now like to show you is what happens when noise is added to the factor of listening through a hearing aid. To demonstrate the interaction between distance and noise, we will use the following noise sources: a teacher working in the back of the room with some students. This will simulate what could happen in the regular classroom. We will also turn on a fan to simulate the noisy blower fans that many classrooms have. As the noise sources start, I will again walk 10 feet away from the hearing aid, and you should notice that we have an extremely difficult listening condition. Jack be nimble, Jack be quick, Jack jumped over the candlestick, Jack jumped high, Jack jumped low, Jack jumped over and burned his toe. Here at the maximum distance from the hearing aid, you will notice that you have an extremely difficult listening situation because of the repeated background noise. As I walk slowly towards the hearing aid again, we will turn off the noise sources, and I will be once again back at the optimal listening condition where you should be hearing me with little difficulty. Because the hard of hearing student will have difficulty in the types of listening situations we've just seen, the use of a personal FM system may be recommended. I have the FM system set so that the microphone on the student's hearing aid is still functioning. I'm going to walk 10 feet away from the microphone of the hearing aid, and as I do so, you will again notice that it becomes very difficult to understand what I am saying. When I am at the maximum distance, I will activate the teacher's FM microphone, and you should see an improvement in your ability to understand me. Jack and Jill went up the hill to fetch a pail of water. Jack went down and broke his crown, and Jill came tumbling after. You should notice now that there is an increase in your ability to understand me with the FM microphone on. The FM microphone allows the teacher mobility so that he or she can move about the room and the student can still hear what the teacher is saying. As I walk back towards the hearing aid now, I am going to shut off the teacher's microphone and you will lose the FM advantage. As I walk back closer to the hearing aid, you will see that my speech becomes easier to understand until I am back at the optimal listening condition where you should be understanding me with little difficulty. What we would now like to show you is what happens when noise is again added to the listening condition. We're going to use the same noise sources, a fan blowing and people talking, and I'm going to walk away from the hearing aid. When I get 10 feet away, I'm going to turn on the teacher's microphone, and you should notice there's an improvement in your ability to understand what I am saying. Little Miss Muffet sat in her tummy, eating her curds and whey. Along came a spider, who sat down beside her and frightened Miss Muffet away. You should notice now that there is an improvement in your ability to understand what I am saying with the FM microphone on. Although this is not an ideal listening condition, it is certainly better than listening at a distance in noise with only the hearing aid. Now I am going to shut off the microphone and you will lose the FM advantage. As I walk back towards the hearing aid, we shut off the noise sources, and once again, you will be able to hear me clearly as I am back in the optimal listening condition once again. Since we rarely have an optimal listening condition where the teacher is close to the
It's okay, you can turn it off.
and there is no noise in the rest of the background, what we can do.
All right, thoughts? Hands up, guess.
So, Friday we're getting a PowerPoint, correct?
Friday, you're getting the PowerPoint.
Is there any way we can,
Yes, that's a YouTube video.
it's a YouTube video?
It's a YouTube video. Yeah, and then
There'll be a link for that?
yes. In my presentation, you should be able to just click on it and it should take you there. Yes. Yes. Say it again. Does it sound the same with an implant on? It's going to be very similar in the fact that it's going to be a struggle. Yes. Yep. It's all going to be a struggle with all that sound going on. Yes.
Do the hearing aids and the cochlear implants have about the same distance range?
Do hearing aids and cochlear implants have about the same distance range as far as what the microphones will pick up?
Yes, and optimal, like distance.
3 feet.
Oh, is 3 feet is still optimal distance. You know, where you would typically stand to talk to somebody one-on-one, that's optimal for us. So anything beyond that is going to be, you know, you're going to start to degrade the signal as you get further back. Yeah. Yes.
What is the typical range for the FM?
What's the typical range for the FM or DM systems? That the microphone will reach to that?
It still sound clear.
Yeah, that doesn't matter. As long as it works, your signal is the same. So I think it's, I want to say it's 75 feet, somewhere in there. So like if the teacher forgets to turn it off as they go to the bathroom, they're going to hear a little something. So it's got a pretty good range.
There'd be nowhere in a typical classroom that a teacher could go.
No, so could they go somewhere in a typical classroom and not be able to reach? No. Nope, not in a typical classroom.
Probably not any.
Yeah.
I should reach most of
And gyms too, yeah. So yeah, we could be in here and you could be in that corner and I'm over here and you're still gonna hear me. Yeah. But what a difference, huh? That's a little bit eye-opening to how rough that is. Mm-hmm. Yes.
So, like, are schools just, like, ignorant to the needs of the students? Or, like, why does it have to be such a fight to get what our kids need?
So why do they not get it? Why do we have to fight for this? Well, we talked about money. Now that's not an excuse. It's not an excuse. It's their excuse often, because as I told you, it's not cheap. It's not cheap technology. And are they ignorant to it? Yes, they do. You know, most schools don't understand kids with hearing loss, and they don't understand the limitations of their own equipment and how beneficial these devices can be for them. You're right, they don't understand it. And sometimes that's our job. And one thing to remember too, if you're fighting with the school over they don't get it, ISD has an outreach program. Have they talked to you about that? And the outreach program? You will hear about it, but the sum of it is they can send somebody to your school to do an in-service for free. And that's enticing to schools because it's free. And so they can give them a better understanding of what these kids are going through and how should we be helping them. So that's something, but I mean, if it's a constant struggle and they're just not getting it, that might be something you could say, hey, you know what, you could contact ISD, their outreach, they'd be happy to come and talk to you. Mm-hmm. Yep. Anything else? Yes? Can you share this PowerPoint with teachers? Oh, sure, if you want to. Yeah, but you know, like you said, that video, it really kind of sums up a whole lot of information. Yeah, so it doesn't hurt to do stuff like that. Say, hey, I would like for you to listen to this. And now you can hear what my kid's going through at school. And this is why I'm asking for this. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. The more we can educate people, it just helps everybody. Not only does it help your kid, but it's gonna help the next kid that comes along too. Yes?
How does it work when they're in like high school and have like 8-9 different teachers?
Oh, so how does this going to work when they're in high school and they rotate to different teachers? So you, at that point, you're probably going to be done with this kind of a system, and you're going to go to a personal device. So chances are the school is not going to buy 8 microphones, one for every one of your teachers. So the kid probably is going to have to take it and pass it off to the teacher. So oftentimes that's when the pen starts to come into account, because you know it's just a long tube that kind of looks like a nice fancy pen, ink pen, so they can just pass that off. Yeah. Any other questions? You guys have good questions. Yes.
They're not funded by government schools, these devices?
Are the devices covered by school funding? So, you know, the schools do receive money for IEPs to help provide services that they need. So that's what they should be using that kind of money for, is to buy equipment that's needed for those individuals on the IEPs. Yeah. Yes.
Okay, so the other night with the panel, it made me kind of sad when they were like, you know, we don't like to go to family things because it's so noisy. Like, I get it. I mean, I don't get it personally, but yeah. So would something like this be beneficial to family settings?
So she was a little disheartened to hear on the panel when people said they didn't want to go to,
Big family.
yeah, when they didn't want to go to family functions because they were lost and they couldn't hear anything. Would something like this work? Yes. So that's why you look into those remote microphones, because that's, and again, is it going to be amazing? Is it going to, no, but is it going to help? Absolutely, it's going to help. Especially if you're just going to have that one-on-one conversation. You're just going to pass off that microphone, and it is going to help. They're going to be able to hear a little bit better in those situations. Not perfect, but better. Yeah. Yeah, I hate to hear that too. I'm like, I can't imagine just sitting there while everybody else is having all these conversations because you can't participate. Yeah. Yes? Hey, does anybody have their pen? Do you have your pen on you? Perfect. I knew a couple of them had them. So it just looks, she's got it on in a case. Can I take it out?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
This is the Roger pen.
That's the, that's the.
So it just looks like this. It's just a,
These are
This
What's
is
that?
about 800, and
About-
each receiver is about 750. So one
yeah.
for each.
So each of those pens are about $800-ish. And insurance doesn't pay. No. I believe you told me you found some grant money. They applied for a grant to be able to purchase those. So I do encourage you to try that. You know, there are different Lions clubs, there's different community groups. Reach out to them, you know, let them listen to this and say, you know, It doesn't hurt. See if you can collect up some money. Yes.
So our daughter's 11 months old. If we were to get something like this now, 5 years down the road, would it be like out of date?
Out of date.
Yeah.
So if we get this now and then 5 years later, then what do we do? Is it out of date? Sure, they come up with new technology all the time because they want you to buy something new. But will it work? Yeah, it'll work. Life expectancy sometimes on some of this equipment, I would say is a good 8 to 10 years before it, as long as you take care of it.
Right.
So yeah, you could still continue to use that until something newer and better that is going to be super beneficial for your kid comes out or whatever. But yeah, I have equipment that I still use that was purchased 8 years ago. It still works fine. No, it's over the head. Huh? Yeah, but I don't think it'll affect them in school too much, really. Yeah. Tech guy over here, he's got ideas. Any other questions? Yes.
How about like at a park?
At the park.
Yes. So like wind and all of that.
Oh, the wind noise and such. So wind is going to play just like when you're on your cell phone. It's picking up wind sound, right? So it is going to pick up some wind sounds as well. The best you can do is you can shield it. I mean, try to shield the microphone when you need to use it. Turn it off when you don't need to use it. So that way they're not getting it constantly. But yeah, so there will be, and that's the same though with their implants and their hearing aids. They're getting wind. There's wind sounds. Mm-hmm.
So
Yes.
then turn off the microphone with the wind.
You could turn the external mic, like if you're using an FM or a remote mic. Yeah.
So you turn off the microphone, but it doesn't turn off their...
Right, so if you turn off the microphone, it will leave their hearing aid. Their hearing aids will still be on.
So I can turn that microphone on and off.
Correct, it's just like muting any microphone. I'm gonna shut it off, and you're gonna go back to just whatever your hearing aids are doing. I'm gonna turn it back on, and you're gonna hear my voice again. Yeah, so you can turn it on and off.
That doesn't cause any feedback or anything.
Does it cause any feedback to the hearing aids? No, it does not. They may hear a little, there may be a click kind of thing that, oh, ooh, it turned on kind of thing, but there's not gonna be anything annoying, no feedback type thing or whatever. Especially with DM equipment, because that's all digital. Yeah, it helps with all that.